Hi guys. So I am not here today, obviously, and so I thought I'd go ahead and record a video to help you with everything that you're doing today, because there are several things that I wanted to talk to you about. So I always start the period with the same thing, which is starting off with announcements. And so the first announcement that I have is that the RISE trip has been approved. Yay! Now, because the RISE trip has a registration fee associated with it, I didn't want to have a bunch of students register for the trip and then we didn't have enough room for people to go and they've already paid their money. So the RISE trip sign up is going to be just a little bit different. So the way that it's going to work is I've already talked to the seniors and I have a number of seniors that have already signed up. I have 26 slots for juniors. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to print the parent permission slip forms and have them ready for when I get back. And I will be passing those out on Wednesday to whoever is interested in going on the RISE trip. And on Thursday, the first 26 students to return completely filled out and signed permission slips will have a space reserved for the RISE trip. Now you still have to go and sign up with RISE and pay the $8. If you don't sign up with RISE and pay the $8, then your name gets eliminated and the next person comes and takes your spot. So this is a way for someone to reserve their slot but not have to pay the $8 right off the bat until they find out that they actually have a slot reserved. So I know that you have your PSAT on Wednesday. Yay. So after the test, you can come and get a permission slip from me for that. Nobody is allowed to turn theirs in before Thursday anyways. So I've already told A-Day. A-Day is aware of how this is going to work, and so now you guys are being told as well. So come Thursday, like I said, the first 26 slips that I get will be the ones that will have a space reserved. And then it is your responsibility to go onto the RISE website, register, pay, and then show me proof that you've paid. If you do not pay and register by Friday, it's a very quick turnaround for all of this, then I will move it to the next person who is interested in going. So please, please don't grab a permission slip or sign up if you're kind of like not sure if you're going to go or not, because that's a slot that someone else may want. And like I said, we only have 26 slots for the juniors and we have 102 juniors. So that's a huge difference. Okay. All right. So the next thing that you guys need to work on or to do that is crazy important is that for PSAT testing, lunches are going to be served on the third floor. And so don't shoot the messenger. So the way that that's going to work is I have left the lunch forms on my desk with the sub. And so when this video is over, you need to put your name on that form and indicate whether or not you are going to have a lunch provided for you by the school, and there's a couple of options, or if you are going to bring your own lunch. Now let me just kind of give you a little bit of heads up about the bringing your own lunch. You will be eating on the third floor, and you cannot bring anything that requires heating up or assembly of any kind. Even if you're like, oh, well, I know so-and-so will let me use their microwave. They always do. So-and-so is not going to be in their room. Okay, so for testing, everything's going to be wonky. People are going to be moved around, and you will not, let me repeat, you will not be able to go to so-and-so and heat up your food. So if you choose to bring a lunch, then you need to be aware that you will eat it as is. Okay. You will also not be able to get deliveries that day. That is standard for test day, that there are no deliveries. So don't, again, anticipate that your mom or dad can bring you something to eat because you forgot to bring your lunch when you said that you were going to bring your lunch. So please make sure that you sign up on that lunch form before you leave. It has to be turned in first thing. So as soon as Tuesday's over, that form is going to be turned in, especially since I'm not going to be there. So it's imperative. Okay. All right. So that's the next thing. So RISE trip, lunch form, kind of going down my list here. So the next thing that you guys are going to be doing is you guys are going to be working on your PSAT scores. Yay. So you should have done the PSAT reading. I, talked about it forever. You guys have gotten a remind about it, and hopefully you've come back with your reading test already completed. If you didn't, then you're going to be kind of sitting there behind, and you're also going to be missing out on a grade that is due. So you need to be aware of that. So for the reading test, you have on your tables this little sheet right here. I taped it up there myself. And so for the reading score, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to, of course, want to check your scores, make sure, or check your answers to see what you got right and wrong. So when you open it up, as soon as you open it up, the very first thing that you see here is that you see there is a key for the reading test. There is a key also in the back of your booklet, but of course that involves a lot of flipping back and forth, so I figure you guys probably wouldn't like that. So you can use the key to check your reading scores. So once you've checked your reading scores, now you have your reading, your writing, and your math. Yay. So we need to get your PSAT scores. What is your total score for your exam that you guys have been working on? And that's where this other page comes in. So when you look at the other page, you can see that it says conversion chart, conversion table. And so here's how this works. And this is, again, all on your tables. So when you look, you'll notice that there is a section that says raw score. So we'll see if we can zoom this in here a little bit. So you see where it says raw score. And this is how many that you have correct. Remember, there is no penalty for incorrect answers or guessing. So you take a look right here where it says raw score, and then you look to see how many you have correct for a particular section. So if you are looking at, say, reading, since you're checking your reading scores, and let's say that you got 24 correct answers. So there's 24. If you go right across to the reading section, you'll see that it says 25. So 25 is your score. So you're going to want to write that down somewhere. Then what you're going to do is you're going to look and see how many you got correct for writing. And we've already done the writing. We checked the writing. We may or may not have done the scoring for the writing depending on the time. Some classes did, some classes didn't, but that's okay because you have the conversion table that you can check it yourself. So if you look at the writing, let's say that I did a little bit better on the writing. Yay. And so I got 31 correct. So when I look at my chart, my little handy dandy conversion chart, I look for where it says 31. So there's where I got 31 correct. And now I'm going to go over to where it says the writing and language score. And you'll notice that for 31 correct, it says 29. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add those two numbers together. So I'm going to add my 29 and my 25 together, and what I get is 54. Once I've added those two together and I have my 54, add a 0. And my PSAT score for the reading and writing section is a 540. Yay. So we've already done the math. And I even gave you the score for the math. But in case you forgot, if, again, you look at the combined calculator and no calculator correct answers, and you add those together, and then once you've added them together, again, you can look at your handy dandy chart here, and you can look and see, okay, so how many did I get correct on my math? And so if I got, let's say, 30 correct on my math, that's calculator and non-calculator added together, you'll see that my score is 570. So now what I can do is I can add the 570 and the 540 together, and I can get my PSAT score. So my 540 plus my 570 gives me a score of 1110. And that is my PSAT score. So the way that the PSAT scoring works is that it works under the assumption that whatever you get on the PSAT is what you would get on the SAT. So if I was to take the SAT today, and I looked at my reading score, I looked at my writing score, and then I looked at my math score. And if this was my score, this is what I would have on the on the SAT today. So I'd have an 1110. And the questions that I've been encouraging students just to think about, so nothing that you need to write down in regards to these questions, but just because I'm not there, to think about. The first thing that you should think about is, first of all, are there any particular schools that you are interested in going to? And if there are, what are their requirements? What are they looking for? Now, some schools do not have a set score. You know, a lot of schools that, you know, look at applications holistically do not have a set score. Rice being one of them, UT, you know, if you were looking at going to, say, Columbia, Stanford, they do not have set scores. But at the same time, they do have range of scores. And you can actually go online, you can do a really easy Google search, and you can just look at that range of scores. You can just type in average SAT scores for, and then whatever school that you're interested in. That is really useful to help you just kind of figure out, am I on track? I mean, you're not going to take the SAT until the spring semester. So if I have an 1110 and I need an average of about 12, 15, hypothetically, for a school that I'm going into, between 12, 15 and 14, 10. Well, I have an 1110, so I'm still about 100 and something points away. So that tells me I have between now and spring semester to help me gain those 100 something points that I need to go to the school that I'm interested in. Another question you kind of need to ask yourself when you're looking at all of this practice is basically, where am I deficient? You know, I did pretty well. I actually did pretty well for my score, 1110. Nothing to sneeze at, really good. But again, if I have a certain school in mind, if I have a certain, you know, major in mind, am I where I need to be? Is my math weak? Is my reading weak? My writing weak? Where am I weak at? I really need to kind of examine what I need to do to help gain that. Because again, you know, yes, this is the PSAT. You know, it's not the real SAT, but if I'm wanting to be an engineer and my math scores are very, very low, I need to examine that. What can I do to make it better? Because even if a school is looking at my application holistically, even if my acceptance does not hinder completely on my SAT scores, I need to understand, why am I weak in math? I want to be an engineer. I cannot be weak in math. I need to be up here. I want to be a lawyer. So I really need to look at my writing scores. Is my writing where it needs to be? Because if it's not, again, I need to kind of just do some self-reflection and kind of figure that out. So those are just questions to think about. They are not questions that you need to write anything down or write a response or anything like that. It's just food for thought. So in the vein of helping you for your PSAT, especially because it does qualify you for National Merit Scholar, yay, scholarship money, I have put some resources onto Google Classroom that I'm going to show you here in just a little bit. The other thing that now this is a grade. This is required. This is not a food for thought thing. Once you have figured out your reading score, your writing score combined, and then your math score, I actually have a spreadsheet on Google Classroom where I want you to write down your scores. I understand that some of you may be reluctant if you are not pleased with where you're at. So on the spreadsheet, it has a place for you to put your ID number, and then your combined reading writing score, and then your math score, and then the total score combined. Please go ahead and do the addition for me. I'd really appreciate it. So please don't worry about putting your name on there. I don't want anybody to feel like they're in competition or that, you know, you have to feel bad or anything like that. I want to see your scores, because when you take the real PSAT on Wednesday, I kind of want to see, like, okay, so how'd you do on the practice versus, you know, the PSAT that you took on Wednesday? And then I want to keep that, because then I want to take a look and see, okay, in the spring semester, when you guys are testing in March or April, whenever they decide to have it, how did you do on the practice versus what you did on the PSAT on Wednesday versus what you get on the SAT in spring? I think that kind of growth is really important to look at. I want to see that kind of growth. I think a lot of students actually like to see that kind of growth. From my experience, they kind of like to see how they've gone up. So I will be keeping track of that. I will be holding on to that. But like I said, you only need your ID numbers. You don't need your names. And I'll show you that where that's on Google Classroom here in just a little bit. I also have a spot, like I said, for practice tests. So I have practice quizzes and practice tests. So if you look at your booklet, I don't have a booklet with me, but on the little paper it even tells you practice test 2. We did practice test 2 in class. That means there's a practice test 1. So, since there's a practice test 1, if you want, not requiring it, not taking it for a grade, really it's just more for if you want the additional practice. The link is there on Google Classroom where you can do the practice test 1 at home and kind of see how your scores are, especially compared to practice test 2 where we did this in class, and maybe it was just not an ideal testing environment. Maybe you do a lot better if you did this at home with peace and quiet or somewhere else where you could really focus on the different sections. So there is a practice test 1 with answers as well as explanations to the answers. And so let me go ahead and show you all that on Google Classroom right now. So I'm going to flip this, but you'll still be able to hear my voice. So let's take a look at what we have here. So if you see on here, you can see that I have Google Classroom up. And the first thing I have right here is, of course, where I wanted you to add your scores. It is not a Google form. I know that has been problematic at times. It is the standard Google Sheets. So there is no permission required. Editing is open, so you will be able to post your sheet, your scores on the sheet once you have that all added up. And that is a grade. Let me re-emphasize that. That is a grade. All right. So the next thing I was telling you about are the practice tests. So if you look at here, you will be able to see that this takes you to College Board. And I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And you can see it talks about your scores and calculating your scores and things like that. But you'll see here where it says practice. And so there are sample questions, but there is also the practice test. So when I click on practice test and scroll down, you can see it says practice test 2. Now, some of you were wondering, why did I get such and such answer wrong? And so if you look right here, you can actually see where it says practice test 2 answer explanations. So you can actually click on this and it gives you the answers to every part of the test as well as why it was that particular answer. So it does that for the reading, writing, and the math section. And I do know several people did ask about that. So that's the one that we did in class. That's what we've been working on. Now, if you want a completely fresh test to practice on, there is a practice test 1. So the first part right here, this link is the actual test. The second link is a bubble sheet if you want to print out the bubble sheet. Then you have the answers. You can see it gives you the scoring. And then here are the answer explanations in detail. So that is something there for you to use if you want. Again, I am not requiring it, but some people were interested in extra practice. Now, the other thing, this is kind of an older assignment, but I have more people missing this from B-Day, and that is the PSAT scavenger hunt. You can see that I'm still missing 29 people that have not done this. I really need you to get this done. This is a grade. It should be a very simple grade. You used your PSAT information booklet to help answer the questions. If Google Forms does not work for you, restart your computer. If it still does not work for you, use your phone. If it still does not work for you, see if somebody will let you use their computer that it does work for, because the first question that it asks is for you to put your name in. So even if you're logged in under somebody else's account, don't worry about them getting a grade twice. You will get your grade as long as you put your name in the very first question that says, what is your name? But I really need this done so that I can put the grades in. I already have A-day grades in, but I do not have B-day grades in, and those will be going in soon. And 29 people are going to be getting zeros for this assignment. So please get that done. I have also added, and this is for later, but I have also added some quizzes from Kaplan. Kaplan is a different study site that is separate from College Board, and I'll show you this here in just a second. All right, so here's what we have so far. Here's a little rundown of things that you need to do. The first, of course, is trying to figure out if you want to go on the RICE trip. That's just a decision that you need to make. The second is filling out the lunch form. That is required. So the sub has that. You need to put your name on there and indicate whether or not you are going to have a lunch provided by the school, or if you will bring your own lunch. The next thing that you will do, of course, is check your reading scores. And then once you check your reading scores, you will get your scoring for everything added together. So you will do reading and writing combined. You will, of course, have your math score. And then you will get the total. And that will go here into this spreadsheet using your ID, not your name. Once you are finished adding your scores, if you still owe me the PSAT scavenger hunt quiz, I do want you to go ahead and get that done very quickly. That should take you all of 10 minutes to do. All right, so once you're done with all of that, I have a quick write that I do want you all to do. So this is for all students. So once you've done all that PSAT stuff, I do have a quick write prompt for you to do. We have been extremely busy with PSAT prep and studying. I know it's been a little stressful with thinking about all this PSAT stuff. So what I did is I do have a quick write prompt for you that is to help you, I don't know, like kind of get your mind off of that just for even just a little bit. So I do have the prompt. I'm going to show it to you up here, and I just want you to have fun with the prompt. I mean, it is still a quick write, so yes, you still need to follow all the quick write rules. You still need to have correct grammar and sentencing and things like that, but I really do want you to have fun with the prompt itself. I'm hoping that even if just for 10 minutes, it just gives you 10 minutes of thinking about something else apart from PSAT and grades and things like that. So let me go ahead and show you the prompt real fast. So the prompt that I have for you is right here. So I'll go ahead and read that out to you. And it says, tell me about something that you used to love as a kid before middle school. So we're talking like a little kid. I already know that you love your family and friends. So I want this to be about something that was just something that made you really happy as a kid. It can be a cartoon, a toy, a place, an event, a certain food, or something else that's not even listed on here. But I want you to describe in detail what it was and why it made you so happy. You can write about more than one thing if you want. So you can write about a cartoon, tell me about it, and then write about a toy or a combination of things, or like I said, something that's not on here. Remember that your quick write does need to be 7 sentences or more, especially when we're writing about things that are kind of fun and things that we really were fond of. It's not unusual to write a little bit more, and that's fine. It makes me happy to see that. It does need to be filled with details and explanation. I don't want a list of things that made you happy. I want you to focus on 1 or 2 things that made you happy as a kid. Like, I really want to know, like, what was it? Why did it make you so happy? What did you do? Was this like something that was a daily thing, a yearly thing, a weekly thing? Just what was it? And of course, it should be grammatically correct. So you will put that on your own sheet of notebook paper, and then you will turn that into the sub before you leave. Okay, so that is due. That is a grade. When you are finished with the PSAT stuff, when you are finished with the quick write prompt, at that point you have a couple of options. So option 1 is that if you want, you can do some practice on the Kaplan test prep. When you open it up, you'll see that it has various little quizzes over different parts of the PSAT. This one is a general overview quiz. It's only 10 questions. This one gives you the different parts of the math portion. This one gives you different portions of the reading, and then of course the writing portion of the PSAT. If you choose not to do that, then you may work on homework for another class. But you will not text, you will not play games, you will not sleep or anything like that. So that is your assignment for today. So the video itself has already taken you about 25 minutes to watch. Sorry about that. But you have your list. So lunch form, then PSAT scoring for reading, then getting your scores combined, putting it on the Google Sheets, and then once you're done with that, the quick write, and then possibly the scavenger hunt quiz if you haven't done it yet. After that, either Kaplan practice or you can do homework for another class. So have a really fantastic day, guys, and I will see you on Wednesday for the PSAT. So bye, guys. Good luck.